Hello, everybody. Welcome to TVI episode 256, I believe. Is that right, Jason? Yeah. 256.
It's a special number. I'm so thrilled to be invited. I'm so thrilled you've done 256 of these and I've not been invited.
You have been. I did invite. We've got Dom Holland in the house.
Hello.
And Tom Toal, double T, T squared.
Hello all.
Good.
He's here.
So how you been?
Good. I'm delighted to do this. First time on the Elizabeth line.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
You come a long way as well.
I have, yeah. But, I was on that train thinking, this is amazing.
I love the Elizabeth
What, the
line.
pod or the train?
No, the train. I just thought, don't we defer to people, you know what I mean? Like some engineer thought we can build this new entire line through London.
I know, the engineering.
Incredible. And I've never seen stations as big.
Yeah.
I was in New York last week and their metro or underground, first of all, it's completely impenetrable. You can't make head nor tail of it. It's impossible to get round. And our system is a little complicated with some of the splits, but what an extraordinary piece of engineering.
Yeah, and the New York one's quite dangerous, is it?
It didn't seem dangerous to me.
You were carrying a knife.
Didn't see,
That means you were the danger.
yeah, they were scared of me. I didn't see any nutters, as you expect. Back in the days when we used to watch movies about New York, it's all very scary.
The Equalizer. Was
Yeah.
that New York based? Maybe.
The Warriors.
The Warriors.
That's what you
yeah,
think
of.
I did love the
You
Warriors.
just think of the Warriors when you get the
Come out to
tube.
play.
Yeah. Love that film.
That was a freaky guy, that actor, wasn't
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I get the impression that the director just sort of left him to it.
Yeah.
Just because he was just so over the
They
top.
couldn't
they
contain
couldn't
him.
They just went, just do your thing.
It's not even in the show.
He wasn't there last week in New York, thank God.
God.
But it was there. Yeah, it was nowhere near as cool as London's underground system.
Paris Underground is good, I think. Seeing as you
that.
can't speak, I can't speak French, but I went there with my daughter in February, and it's really simple and readable. You know
Needs
what I mean?
to be that. It needs to be for people to get around. But New York is completely dense and impossible. Even if you speak to the staff, they just go, I don't know. I have no
Don't know,
idea.
mate, just work here.
They actually said you go on Google Maps, but my phone wouldn't get a signal abroad, so I was very.
They
cross
must
with
have
the-
known that you're underground. They don't even know that.
But even on the street platforms,
Oh yeah.
if you ask anyone who works on New York Underground, not a clue.
And what were you doing over in New York?
I was over there seeing my son. Tom was he was launching a new product.
Dom is Spider-Man's dad.
I am. Tom Holland's
Quite
dad,
literally.
This is the non-alcoholic beer.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
He's launched a product, has he?
for the
A
first
non-alcoholic
time.
beer. Are you listening?
Oh, sorry.
It is a product, Julian. It is a product.
Oh.
You can
I
consume
thought
this product.
he might have launched it across the pub in a temper.
Yeah, through his wrist.
Yeah. And then
Very
climbed
good.
up the wall.
Yeah, he's 28 now, Tom, and obviously with his reach, he's been inundated with offers for years
Yeah.
to endorse or to align, and he's never done it. He's never agreed to do it. But I think it sort of sowed ideas in his head, because also the other celebrities that we can all think of, we've got big brands.
Like Conor McGregor's beer is doing, or is it beer or whiskey rather?
Probably a whiskey,
Yeah,
I would
it's
imagine.
Smashing it, yeah.
So Tom knows these people. He mixes in circles where he gets to speak to these guys, and they probably all talk about how their brand is doing. So he must have sown a seed in his head, and because he's did this, he went sober, as he calls it, on his podcast that he's been on.
How long has he been sober?
3 years.
What is he? Did he do it through a program?
No, just off his own volition. He just decided. He didn't tell me that he had a problem, which I found quite chastening as a parent.
Yeah.
He would come to me.
Parent's not the first person you go to.
Obviously not. But he did explain to me, because he's come out on these podcasts, big podcasts. Sorry,
We'll cut that bit out.
Is he on next week? Is he?
he is available. But
I
he's
thought
not
you
doing
were.
this-
I thought you were Tom. I'm sorry.
I'm the wrong booking. There's a D. Yeah, because he has come out and said he had this issue. So he said he was using alcohol to cope with the unusual life he has.
Yeah.
There were a few signs. We had a meeting in London.
But everyone uses alcohol no matter what life they've got, I suppose.
Yeah, but we did a meeting in London about maybe 4 years ago.
Has
So
he not
Tom
heard of
in 20
fentanyl? It's wonderful.
That's his new brand.
Oh, okay. He's selling that around Skid Row.
He's going to do a non-malignant,
Non-addictive.
Yeah, non-addictive. No, we were in a meeting in London, and we came out from this meeting. We were about 12:30 in town, somewhere in London, West End maybe. And he said, "Oh, Dad, there's a pub. Let's go for a pint." And I'm very, moderate in my drinking. I said, "I'm not having a pint, Tom. What are you talking about? I'll go for a coffee." And he said, "No, Dad, it's a pub. Come on, let's have a pint." And I think in me saying no, that might have been, okay.
But I need it.
I really want a pint.
Yeah.
And that might have been, Dad doesn't want to drink. Why isn't Dad having a drink? So that might have been Anyway, he got to this place where he didn't want to drink anymore. He did dry January. That extended into a quarter and then a year. And then when he got into it and decided he wasn't going to drink again, I suppose all the knockings on his door of, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? It probably crystallized for him and thought, well, actually, if I'm going to do a brand, if I'm going to do a product, I want to do something that I'm really into, which is his sobriety. And he wanted a drink that he really likes to drink.
Yeah.
Some of those non-alcoholic beers are a bit thin or not great.
Yeah.
So he,
There's no alcohol in them, that's why.
because
They're
of who
missing
he
the
is,
key ingredient.
But because of who he is, he could just he can have teams just align with him immediately.
And testing out.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
he has suddenly an array of
Queuing up.
people around him who are all in the room and very brilliant and have got great reach.
Yeah, yeah.
So suddenly he has all
That's
these
what I
beers
need.
being developed. Yeah, that's what we all need, don't we?
Yeah,
None of us
yeah.
have got it. That's, when I launched a book, I do it with a tweet. That's what I do.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Why
he
don't,
did
don't
that.
you ever text him and say, give that a retweet?
I never
I've
wanna-
got a brand, son.
I never want to embarrass him as a dad. That's when people
Impossible, yeah.
What's it like being a dad? And I always say, well, I never want to do any. I never want to ask him to do something which when he puts the phone down, he thinks,
You
that's a
brought
bit
him
heavy.
up.
Well,
Yeah, he
didn't
did.
I?
You created
His
a very
his
well-balanced...
mum was there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Has she got anything she needs to plug? That she
Just me.
just there you go. Say, listen,
Literally.
can you do a favour for your mum? Can you plug my book?
yeah. It's for your mum. She brought you up.
I was in New York because he was launching that product, and when he launches a product, it's very different to my just writing a blog. Yeah, it's big, and he's on TV shows. He's doing big press interviews, and look, we'll see where it goes. But it was very exciting to go out there and just see how his life is developing. He has a real special life. It's great.
Is he based in New York?
No,
And
he lives
LA?
in London.
Oh, he lives
no,
in
he lives in
Oh.
London. He lives just down the road from me. He's
Oh, right.
very adventurous. He's moved about a mile from his parents' house.
Oh, that's
but
nice.
To a
So
nicer
you see
house.
him a lot, yeah.
Yeah, we do. When he's in America now for a while, bits and bobs, but he's mainly in London, and he's at a point now in his life where, when he makes a film, he's able to say, "I'll do the film, but we'll make it in London,"
Yeah,
and they have to go, "Okay, we'll do that because we want him in their films."
That's like me with gigs, yeah.
yeah, it has to be
When
here.
I'm on the train to Sheffield.
yeah. So he's a London-based kid. Grew up in London.
Whereabouts? Over Kingston way?
In West London, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he lives
And
in
did
Kingston.
you, like, whose idea was it for him to get into acting? Did you push him?
Have you not read my book Eclipsed?
Well, funny enough.
Have you read it? Yeah.
I read.
No.
It was a
Don't know
blog
why
at
I'm
some point. I
surprised.
remember
It was a
reading the
blog.
blog.
It was a blog, yes, Tom.
And
It was.
I'm not going through something similar, of course, but my daughter, a couple of weeks ago, she had this form that a school were doing a show at the O2.
All right.
But she's also doing a show at the O2 with her musical theatre group. So she's doing 2 dates at the O2 within 10 days.
Wow.
And I just remember going, well, that's never going to happen. No. And so in that weird way, like you she's an only child, and you do, anytime she's always loved musical theatre. She's done it since she
Right.
was 4.
How old
And
is she now?
She's 10 now.
Okay.
So she got the lead role in a play last year that was really nice within a musical theatre group. And so she's sort of now starting to think of it as a potential career.
Yeah,
So
especially
can she be in Tom's next film as well?
no, but I'm just saying, like in that thing of like, when people that sort of, obviously I've achieved what I want to achieve, and there's obviously much more that I want to achieve. But for her, I really do sit back and look at her and go, the sky is the limit for this kid.
Kids don't have that negative self-talk or like things can't. They're so free. aren't
Absolutely.
they?
Yeah, well, you'd hope so. I mean, if you've given them a good
beating.
Yeah. I was going to say foundation, but beating works as well.
That is a foundation.
Well, no, I would say I would encourage that. I would definitely encourage that. Although I would maybe have a few caveats because there is so unlikely. What happened to Tom
You
was
have
so
to buy
unusual.
me a house.
Yeah. What happened to Tom was so unusual.
It is very, very rare. I mean, it's not like...
No, it is. Because he was 19 when he was cast as Spider-Man.
And was that his first bit? Like, was there a break before that?
He'd done a few films before then. But
was he a Master and Commander? He was in something set on a boat.
He was on a movie, in a movie called In the Heart of the Sea. With
That's the one, yeah.
Chris Hemsworth. And I came home from a gig. I'd done a gig in some little pub somewhere and came home and he was on FaceTime with Ron Howard. I went, oh, right, there you go.
Oh, my God. Richie from Happy Days.
I'll let you know how my gig goes after you finish with Ron.
Yeah.
So he'd done stuff and he was doing well and people liked him and the industry liked him. But then obviously getting cast in that role changed everything.
Sure.
But in answer to your question, we didn't court show business at all. He got spotted as a youngster. So he would have been about, I don't know, 7 or 8 when he was at a disco dancing class at a YMCA in Wimbledon, sort of Saturday afternoon, general, I always say there were 3 boys in the class, 60 girls, and Tom was by far, some distance, the 3rd best male dancer in the group. He wasn't even a good dancer, he was just an enthusiastic dancer.
Uninhibited.
Just uninhibited, enjoyed doing it, loved dancing to Michael Jackson and the like. But he got spotted there, and from that being spotted, he started to audition for musical theatre. Billy Elliot was playing in the West End, it had just started, and he turned up, rocked up in the end and got cast. And that, doing Billy for 2 years and doing it very well, really cemented his desire to carry on doing it. But then a lot of alchemy happened for Tom because, as I say, he got into certain films. He got into a movie called The Impossible with Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts, who we met last week in New York. And then it was that got him noticed. So when they were looking for a new Spider-Man, because Tom's a really good gymnast, good dancer, and he's proportionate and he looks the part. He was in a good shape to get the gig. Yeah, and he'd already worked with Chris Hemsworth. Obviously, he's in the Thor in the Marvel world, so he knew those people. So he wasn't coming to it as a kid. He was really starstruck because he knew Chris. He'd worked with him. He was in a good place. I mean, I'm not denigrating how he performed in the auditions. He must have done well. But he was not starting.
The stars were aligning.
Yeah, I think so, and I think I think that sort of serendipity is what we all strive for. But you have no jurisdiction over it.
What's that opportunity is preparation, meeting, something, isn't it?
Something, yeah.
Saying like that, mate.
It just rolls off the tongue.
I mean, I've got loads of these.
Carry on, Julian. You don't need us.
Did he ever express...
I should have prepared that.
...an interest in sort of like doing stand-up, or did he see you performing? And oh, really?
Well, he did a bit, Tom, because what he does is when he does a film junket, so he goes around the world to all the territories of the world, and they put him on TV shows in Brazil and America, but also they put him in theatres. Okay, and they pack the theatre out with fans, which is easily done. Yeah. There's thousands of them. And of course, they're beholden to him. So when he speaks, they're just captive. And when he says something remotely funny, they fall over laughing.
Yeah.
So he's thinking, I'm fucking brilliant at this.
Yeah.
What my dad does is easy. And I said, Tom, I'll get you a gig at the Comedy Store, mate.
Yes.
But of course, they would be... It's such a different skill.
Sure.
And I think Tom realised quite quickly that partisan audience was not reflective of his funny. It was just they're being in awe of who he is.
Yeah.
That's what I tell him anyway.
You see that with actors on chat shows. They just tell us a little amusing story.
Something funny, remotely funny.
Yeah,
and then, but I think, I mean, Tom's done Norton a few times, and I have helped him with those shows.
Oh, have you? Yeah.
I can sit with him and say, right, I think here's a line. And
right, here's my book.
Put
it on your lap.
Don't forget my book.
Here's a T-shirt to wear with my gig list on it.
And a link.
A QR code to my podcast.
But, I always think whenever they used to interview people at Wimbledon after the guys won or the girls won at the Wimbledon, the audience would listen to them and they just need to say something a little bit left field, and everyone's...
It shows you that rapport is probably the number one thing then, isn't it? Like even in stand-up, likability.
People used to say that when I started doing stand-up, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. But I don't really
You're
buy
the singer, not the song or something.
Well, I always think you've got to say funny as well.
These sayings that you're coming...
Yeah.
I've got loads of this.
Is this going well, this podcast?
This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, listen, he who dares, something like that, wins.
Yeah,
maybe.
something like
I
that.
forget the last bit, yeah.
Perseveres.
I think you've got to say funny. I mean, there are people who've got funny bones.
Same, yeah, but that's because you're a comic. I, if I'm watching a comic, I want them to say funny stuff, like interesting observation or good joke.
Make me think, I wish I'd thought of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I want to get from a stand-up.
Yeah, you should watch me.
If they're likeable as well, you're very likeable, Tom, on
thank
stage.
you.
Julian, you're quite acerbic on stage, but that's your thing.
Yeah.
You're acerbic, you know what I mean? You're sort of
Yeah,
doer.
yeah. I don't know how to take that. Tom, you're quite likeable on stage.
When I-
Julian,
when
you're
I
on
said-
stage.
You're on stage, Julian.
When I said that, I thought, Julian's never heard that before. I saw in your eye, you went, oh, really?
But yeah,
But you are doer.
I guess a doer.
Doer. You're not upbeat like Tom is.
No.
You are
Would you say
the
Tom's
world
upbeat? Yeah.
miserablest.
Yeah, well, I think because I host a lot, I feel that I
I guess I'm cynical, aren't I?
Yes,
And,
yes,
like,
yes,
cutting,
yes,
and
cutting, yes.
brilliant, and there's a
Yes,
lot of things. Funny.
Very
a
funny.
lot of your punchlines are really like
They're coming hard,
They're
like
coming
hand
hard,
grenades.
yeah.
Yeah. Mine are soft. Mine are
You inspired a lot
Gentle.
of big stand-up, like Jimmy Carr. I heard you inspired a
Yeah.
lot. Michael McIntyre.
yeah,
You can see that.
hurts. No. Well, I spoke to Jimmy the other day, and he was incredibly complimentary about
I
my
was going to say
stand-up.
rude.
No, he was very complimentary. And yeah, listen, it is flattering when I speak to people who say that to me. And I'm very admiring of those guys, especially Jimmy and Michael, because they have no fear.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's what gets them to where they are. Plus their work ethic. I mean, Jimmy Carr, does anyone work harder than Jimmy Carr in the show business? I mean, the guy told me, I looked at his gig sheets, and when he's not doing gigs, he's in Estonia doing a theatre, or then he's in Barcelona. Because Because of the internet now, he's full the world over.
He's an absolute
and
workhorse.
he says, well, why wouldn't I do it? I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you love it, for me, it's a bit attritional. I've got to get on.
Yeah.
But I hope it goes well. He doesn't care.
I want to get through it.
I got away with it again.
and especially being one-liners as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
also he did this thing at the gig the other day. He said, Dominic, I'm going to do stuff at the end of my set that I've written today. Mm-hmm. So he does the set and does very well, and the audience are on side. And he says, right, and then he gets his clipboard out. And he just reads them out. And
He used to have a clipboard doing the circuit, didn't he? Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but my rate from page to stage is not good. So I'll think of things, and I'll think, where can I put that bit? And if it doesn't work very well, I don't continue working on it. I'll move on to something safe.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Some people have got a much more a broader license. I think I don't have that, and I just admire him because I think stand-up's scary anyway. But you have your scaffold of the stuff that you know works, and when you go off that scaffold, you could fall right to the floor.
Yeah.
And that's where I've tended to be quite safe in terms of. I mean, I did turn stuff over. I've had hours of material. However, I'm always admiring of the people who can just go on and riff and you'll work
Thank
out.
you.
You didn't leap to mine, Julian. You're quite acerbic.
Okay. New tour show, Acerbic.
Acerbic. Yeah.
Acerbic's like acidy. I relate that to. Is that?
Well, you said about cynical.
Yeah.
That's what I would say is. It could be
Okay.
acerbic.
Yeah.
But listen, everyone has different ways of making people laugh. Jimmy Carr's high status.
I'd
There aren't
say-
many comics who are high status.
I'd say he's quite acerbic. Would you?
He is.
Yeah.
No, he is. Oh, he's very acerbic.
I've written for him quite a bit.
Yeah, no, he's very acerbic, but I think high status comedians quite rare. Most comedians, low status, Tom and I, looking up at the world, little guy, or
Just in life.
I hope you're going to like.
Wide-eyed.
Then you get to the gig. and-
Wide-eyed, yeah.
Yeah.
And you are, I would say, you're a high status comedian.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Although you do,
You meant that in a
Yeah.
good
you do
way.
misinterpret things as well. Like,
Oh, thank
no,
you,
he's
man.
just thick.
no, sorry, yeah, you're thick.
Full of compliments, man. Thank you, guys.
Speaking of high status comedians, did you see clips of Tony Hinchcliffe doing the Republican?
I did,
National
yeah. I
mention?
thought he played it
I didn't see that. No.
a little bit wrong. Like I liked him since the Tom Brady. I always thought him being a bit of a.
Was this prep? Should I have watched
No.
it?
I just thought of it just because of what you said. I thought, well, that
No, it's just a
it doesn't get
huge
much more
thing.
high status than standing in front of the Republican National Convention and doing.
Yes.
He was really punching down.
But that's his comedy though.
True.
You know, he's a roaster. He that's what he does on Kill Tony, which has sold out Madison Square Garden a few times. Like it's a huge
deal.
But it's roasting, so there's literally no limits on race or disability. You know what I mean?
With roasting, normally the person's in the room and you're roasting them. He literally said, "Oh, there's an island out in sea. It's a pile of garbage." They call it Puerto Rico.
But that's an old joke of his that he does that works in the context of his stuff. But in a Republican rally,
it looks
you
like
have
he's
to
just literally being.
Yeah, you have to
And
be.
were they cheering that?
Yeah, I don't think it went down.
I know
that
a
well.
couple of people that were there actually.
I did.
Yeah.
Where was it?
It was in. It was Madison Square.
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
it?
it was, yeah.
Madison
New
Square
York,
Garden.
It's a
Yeah.
small gig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Try stuff out.
Yeah, he went back to his scaffold.
But they said it did get a laugh, but you know,
A nervous laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
I've had a few of those.
you can't really go and do ironic racism jokes in a political rally.
No, it was a weird booking.
Who's the guy who did the gig the other day it was a Catholic gig in New York. Stand Up did a speech and Trump was there and Harris was supposed to be there, but she wasn't. It was
That was the they have that annually. Like it's not the Alan Bennett, but
it was a big sort of convention with real
all
high
of the top elite
Oh yeah,
billionaires.
Michelle Wolf has done that in the past, hasn't she?
She's-
done
It was
that.
the
think-
fellow from Saturday Night Live. The names escape me now.
Jim Gaffigan.
Jim Gaffigan, correct. And I thought, wow, that's a big gig. You know, that's a really
Yeah,
because you've got people.
He's massive though, Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, he is big in the States. So, you know, but he had people, he stood up on stage at the high table and there were people in front of him just not even turning around.
Yeah.
Just looking out.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
thought,
yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
What a
You guys
weird-
would need to turn around and look at me.
I wouldn't want to do that gig.
No, well, I mean, obviously it's massive profile. However, get it
I mean,
wrong.
you'd have to do it, wouldn't you, if you were offered it? But I'd be dreading it for
Yeah, you didn't want
months.
years.
Yeah.
I would definitely pull a sickie. I wouldn't ask me, but thank God. But I did think, well, as gigs go, that's as big as it gets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In terms of the internet and the reach, because it's going to be shared and watched and viewed.
But also, because obviously, you know, you're quite good at corporate gigs, aren't you, Dominic? Would
I
you
do.
say? Yeah. So is there anything that has been offered that you definitely wouldn't take?
I only don't take gigs where I don't think I'm the right booking.
Right. Okay. So there's nothing morally that you're like, no, I wouldn't do.
Well, I've never turned a gig down on moral grounds. So no, I mean, but I do turn down gigs where I think I'm the wrong guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I just if I think I'm going to have a smelly gig, even if I get paid, I'd rather not do it.
And
I
how
just
would
wanna
you
do good
judge
gigs.
that, depending
Well,
on the company or what they do?
Yeah, if they say to me, we've got a load of foot soldiers and it's a real piss up and everyone's smashed.
Yeah.
I think, well, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I need
And
to
just
get you
before you,
listening.
they're doing something about a child that had passed away or something.
Well, I mean, it's normally, you know, because there are some comics who are big and brash and can play music.
Thank you, man.
And I'm not that guy. I need to get them in my world. The reason why my radio show was called The Small World of Dominic Holland was because I'm very introspective and I make you laugh at yourself. But to do that, you've got to get into my way of thinking. And if they're all pissed and there's 1,000 of them, I think, well, I'm not your guy.
Wouldn't you just play it differently, though, and just get the check?
Well, if I'm there and I realise I've taken
Turn
the
up in a
gig-
clown outfit.
No, if I'm there and
400
I realise,
quid, you say?
I wouldn't be there for 400 quid. But if I'm there and I
300
realise
then.
I'm the wrong person, I just think, okay, belt and braces here. I might, you know, get a bit more core blind with and get into something with the front row deliberately.
Yeah,
To try and work it out that way. But I would prefer not to be there. And
I
choose
did
the
turn
gig.
down a gig, actually. I got booked for it, and then I looked into it, and I said, look, I'm not the guy for it, like, earlier in the year. They wanted me to...
How did you do that? How did you assess that then?
I actually... The booker, I said that to him, and he was like, no, it's fine. So I rang the event themselves, the person who was organising it.
Was it a corporate gig?
Yeah, it was a corporate.
Yeah.
And but I had to sit with them, pretending I'm part of the club, and then get up.
Oh,
and
wow.
Do
Okay.
a speech
I've never done
welcoming
that.
to the club, and then be the funny guy.
Oh no, that'd be eggy.
And it was a nightmare.
Did you do it?
No.
No. Was it a good earner?
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, and
So that's a big loss then.
it was a loss.
Did
but
you think actually maybe I need the money? So It's their fault. If they booked me, it's their fault.
Honestly, like, I did have another gig offered that day, and it wasn't as much money, but I just couldn't. It was just too much.
Yes.
I was walking to death, you know what I mean? Getting up and pretending I'm a new member of the club and then going to my material.
No, I wouldn't want to do that.
And when my material is quite acerbic, it would have been like...
Yeah, I've got to say to you, you're the wrong guy for that.
Yeah, and then suddenly I'm accepting like a membership to this club and then going into these jokes. It would have just looked...
So you're pretending to be someone else?
I'm pretending to be somebody who's new to the club and joining it.
Okay.
And then
what club was it?
You know what? I can't even remember.
Was it in London?
It was maybe about an hour or two. It wasn't like miles away.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just said, I'm not the guy, honestly. It just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they were quite surprised as well.
Sorry, could you not just ask to do a set, like rather than the whole preamble?
It's what they wanted, and I did kind of... That's why I rung them to try and let's sort this out, arrange this better.
Yeah.
But that's the way they wanted it.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm not the guy.
No.
No.
But Tom Toal is.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, it was all right.
Tom would have done it.
I probably would have. Because I quite, in a weird way, that whole... You could probably get bits... Because you would have sat amongst them first, right?
Yeah, as if I'm a new member to the club.
There's a new thing they do now. Oh, it's not new, but at lots of corporate gigs now, you'll have singing waiters. So they'll rock up and they'll be serving and they'll start singing. And they're actually professional tenors and
Oh yeah, I know a couple
singers.
of guys that do that. Yeah,
and that's become very, I suppose at the time it was very new, but now it's just people sort of okay. But that's not dissimilar to what they're asking you to do.
yeah. But I guess with comedy, it's different, isn't it?
Oh, very different.
Like singing is singing. You're good or bad at it.
Yeah.
Well, you have I think Lloyd Griffith classified it as the Subo moment. So actually, it's quite a nice switch from I'm your waiter to singing.
Yeah,
If it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm your waiter, now I'm going to roast you. It's like, oh no,
Yeah, yeah.
That key changes
Now
too
I'm doing
much.
ironic, racist jokes.
But what you just said there is interesting because if you're good at singing, you're good at singing, and comedy is different. And the reason why comedy is different is because the same jokes with the same deliverer can vary so much on the room.
It is context,
And that's
isn't
why
it?
people say to me, do you get nervous? And I say, because of that unknown, I always have the same anxieties before every gig.
Yeah.
Because I can't guarantee a gig until I get on stage and deliver at least one funny for me to figure out, this is going to be fine.
Yeah, same.
And
Exactly
sometimes
the
you
same.
do a gig and you think, actually, that this isn't there. They're just not there for this.
And as you do it over the years, you just learn to manage that a bit better, would you say?
Yes.
For the first year or first couple of years, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, I manage it because you'd never know.
Yeah.
And I always smile, this is fine.
That's the
But
fun of it,
actually-
though, as well, isn't it?
Is it fun?
Fun is a bit of a light
Yeah, I
word.
was going to
isn't
say, I
it?
wouldn't say it's fun.
Intense,
I want all
thrilling.
gigs to be easy, and they're not. And I'm constantly compromised.
Where is it that
Yeah.
you can walk on? You can walk into a place like in your mind. Think of it now. Where is it that you don't have any anxiety? It's your home. Where is there a venue like that?
No.
For you? Oh, really?
Depends on the...
Even one that you've done for years.
No, never, no. Because I never knew how it was going to go. And so maybe that's just my makeup.
I'm like that as well, though. I feel
Always.
that, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've lost it because I obviously do sort of ragged MC certain gigs, but also when it does come back, it's actually it's like greeting an old friend. I did a gig in Oxford.
What, the anxiety?
Yeah,
Right.
It actually is quite nice because it just goes, oh, just remember you care. We did a fundraiser at my kids' school in March.
Oh, my
and
God.
her
You did
Ted-
stand-up.
I did.
I've done that.
I would say no
See,
to
I've done
that
that. I've
for
done that.
20 grand.
that was good actually because you go
Yeah.
straight away. You're because I laid the rules out and I said, listen, we're going to swear. I know the head teacher's in. I know 4 of her past
Gonna do
teachers. are in.
pedo jokes.
I did a pedo joke.
Oh, my God.
I said.
We did a PTA the other day, actually, and I did
Yeah,
a pedo
you
joke.
did do
Someone
it.
said, that's bad.
Yeah.
And I went, Bat, you think pedos are bad?
They didn't get.
And that did-
You did a gig together.
Yeah,
And you did
it was a PTA
Can I
gig.
just say I've never done a pedo joke in my life?
Have you not?
No,
You
maybe-
take it very
maybe that's where I'm
seriously,
going
do you?
wrong.
I think that'd be great. I think what a time to start. No, I think I did. I think what I said was because we're at school at late. If there was a time for a pedo to come, let him come now, while there's no kids in. And I think I sort of then ran with that. It lasted for a while.
Yeah,
and one of
yeah,
the
yeah.
other dads, who's a mate, just went, actually, that
Actually, that's me.
when you started it, yeah. When you started that, I was like a bit unsure.
put
And
me
then-
in
Did
your
you
set.
feel more pressure? Because I've done my kids' schools
Going
as
on,
well.
yeah.
Okay, so I've done a whole raft of them. So you said you wouldn't do it,
God.
and I've been collared.
I've been asked, and I ended up booking other acts.
Yeah, and I have to say I did do it, but I did think to myself, if this doesn't go right, then I'm really compromising my kids because your dad was shit.
Yeah,
at the school gig. Now they all went really well, so thank God my kids probably enjoyed the fact that their dad was funny at the gig. But Tim Clark said to me, "I've never done it." Tim Clark's only ever done the offstage announcement, so he's booked comics and he's brought them on.
yeah. I
Tim
do
says,
that.
I just can't deal with the pressure of not doing well in front of my kids' parents. You know what I mean?
It was a anxiety before the gig. The minute I went on,
You were fine.
heard the laughter.
Boom.
I'm in. I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just that initial build up. But then I did one in Oxford, and I thought it was a PTA gig. There was 13 to 19-year-olds in, and I realised very quickly that I don't know
Anything about them?
anything about them.
Yeah.
My daughter's 10, and I know what she's about. But
These are pupils at a school.
pupils at the school. It's
Yeah.
quite a posh school in Oxford.
13's too young for an audience, man.
I mean, I was using every bit of my arsenal. I was, plucking things out. I was telling stories, but having to censor myself because I wasn't allowed to swear.
Were you on your own?
No, there was. Well, I
At
was
least
the
you
only
could
straight
share, you could
stand-up.
share the burden.
There was an MC.
Sharing
I
it
was
is
opening.
so important, isn't it?
So important. You can console each other afterwards,
Yeah.
and also you
I
can
like
watch
it
someone
when
else die.
Yeah. I like it when they're more nervous than me.
I hate it when they're not nervous.
Oh,
if
my
I'm with,
God.
if I'm
It's
in a
gonna
green
be
room,
fine. What
if
are
I'm
you
in a
worried
green room,
about?
I think, why aren't you nervous? Have you seen what's out there?
Yeah. We've got to go and stand up in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
That was a different thing because I'm friends with the booker, and I thought I don't want to get him in trouble if I'm bad. And they're like, "Oh, why did you put that guy?" That sort of stuff was running through my mind. But I got away with it. And when I came off, I went, "I've worked to it." Oh, I could tell.
I suppose
Gave
where
me a
you
cuddle.
get up as well you're a nice guy on stage, aren't you?
Yes.
So I just, I think that might help a little bit. Like, even if they're not finding it fun, they're going to like you or think you're nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really have that. I don't think.
It's back to our
Yeah. But you're a nice guy on stage
Yeah,
as well.
I am. And I suppose that's a need to be liked. I mean, I always found in stand-up, back to the high status thing, high status is basically saying I'm the biggest, cleverest and wealthiest person in the room. That's what
Thank
Jimmy
you.
does. That's what Jimmy does.
Yeah.
And I would never be able to do that. I always think my furrow is a lot deeper being the little guy
Yeah.
punching up,
Yeah.
And
You don't come across low status, I wouldn't say,
well,
though.
I certainly, I'm not lording it over the audience.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
quite
yeah.
rare. Those comics are quite. I think Bill Burr is very high status.
Yeah.
Sort of hectoring his audience into laughing, as well as being a fantastic stand-up. But yeah, no, I'm likable because I want people to like me. I want the audience to enjoy it and like me, and so my stuff is very accessible. But I wouldn't want to do a gig to a bunch of kids either.
No, never again.
No way. I did a university the other day, and they were like
That'd be
freshers.
Hard. That'd be hard.
And it was like, and then you go to a bit about sex, and it's like, I can't say this to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
About like sex, it's just felt weird.
But that's the thing earlier about being the wrong comic. I wouldn't take that gig now.
Yeah.
If you said to me, "I've got you a gig at Loughborough University for a load of freshers," I'd say, "I'm not your guy."
Yeah.
I want
Send Tom
their
along.
parents. I want their parents in.
That's the thing. I remember being 24 and feeling quite old at a uni gig. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So now I feel like a dad.
I don't
dropping
really
off.
do them anymore. That was like
No.
a one-off. I used to do them more though when I was newer.
Yeah, same. I used
Well,
to
you just take what you can when you're new.
Yeah.
Now we're all so successful.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't. I was at university and we had Ben Elton come, and it was famous. The room was full, and I went back to the room where he played at Leeds University. But we all sat on the floor, and he came on stage, and he'd done his big TV show in his sparkly suit, and I could not believe how brilliant he was. For
Yeah.
2 hours, this room rocked. And I was just sat there spellbound.
And that's before
watching.
you'd done stand-up.
Yeah, I was just an undergraduate, so I was so
That might have planted the
amazed by it.
seeds,
Yeah,
did
no.
it?
Well, I always wanted to do it. I always knew I was funny, but watching Ben do this show, and he just smashed this room to pieces. And so when we did the Royal Variety Show, and he introduced me,
Oh, what a moment.
yeah, it was a real moment for me. I thought, wow, this is Ben Elton. This is the guy who I watched as a kid, and that gig, that gig at the comedy at the university, I've never seen it. The gigs that I did at colleges were just parts of bills.
Yeah,
he came as a famous comic, and so this room was full. And when I went back to the room, it struck me how small the room was.
Yeah,
it wasn't the big theatre I thought it was in my head.
Yeah,
It's probably 500 people sitting down, but it was an amazing experience for me. 2 hours, he just smashed it. Brilliant.
That's what happens when you go back to gigs. When you're really nervous, this huge room. You go back there, it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's a very doable room.
Yeah. This is a small room.
Yeah. Excuse me. But when Ben, we went to see Ben, me and a few comics the other day, last year.
We're doing stand-up.
Yeah, I think it was the Lyceum, just off Waterloo Bridge, a big theatre.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought, wow, it's amazing that he's done all these books, he's made all this money, clearly doesn't need financially to work anymore, but then there he is still sticking himself on the line. Because he gets very nervous, Ben. He gets very nervous. He said to me, I get very nervous before gigs. And I thought, well, they are still doing it. And I thought that's quite
It's a thrill, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah. I suppose he has stuff to say as well.
Yeah.
You know, he's a political comedian. He wants to say things.
Is he on the left? He's on the left,
Very
is he?
left,
Yes.
yeah. He was
That's
very anti-Thatcher.
That's a stupid question, I know.
Yeah.
I never...
which comics aren't on the left?
yeah, I know.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Me.
Yeah. But yeah, very left. And got a lot of grief for it because he did the Royal Variety Show and they gave him a load of grief for, it's a royal gig. So what, you as a left-wing person, you're supposed to be a Republican. And I thought, give the guy a break.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up comedian, But I thought a lot of guys of your stature and your wealth wouldn't put themselves through this anymore.
No.
It becomes a hit, I guess, doesn't it? Like they miss it, like the adrenaline, the fear, the anxiety.
Yeah.
We'll miss it when we stop, when we're on our deathbed.
Well,
in about 2 weeks.
Did you miss it during COVID, either of you?
I was relieved, actually.
It's interesting you say that.
I started to miss it after about 4 months.
Did you? Yeah. I was doing a few online gigs. I played golf with Jimmy McGee.
Oh, yeah.
And I rocked up and I really liked Jimmy. And I said, hey, Jimmy, how you doing? He goes, I'm loving it. I guess I
was the same.
He goes, I'm loving not being nervous. That's what he said.
I was the same. Just clearing the diary.
And I thought, wow, that's great.
Just putting the diary in the bin and just nothing.
There is no diary.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was really struck when he said that. I thought, oh, because Jimmy always strikes me as a really relaxed comedian.
Yeah.
Really relaxed.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he said,
definitely.
He said, I'm loving not being nervous. I thought, oh, that's what we do to ourselves.
I suppose it comes out in different ways, nerves. Like some people don't admit it, I think, as well, the nerves thing. Or show it, yeah. Maybe even admit it to themselves or something, but it is...
I remember doing a gig in a restaurant, a bill gig, a corporate gig, looked really messy, didn't look easy at all. Mm-hmm. And I was on last. And there was sort of a lot of standing in the room, some seated, wasn't much focus. I thought, this gig looks shit. And people weren't going so well. And I went on, had a fantastic gig. And this guy came up to me after and he goes, God, I'll tell you what, mate, we were watching you before you went on. And we all thought, that's the guy who's on last. He looks like he's shitting himself.
Yeah. That's why I hate the audience.
I hate seeing
behind the curtain.
But he said, you did so well because we thought you were looking like you were shitting. And I was probably shitting because the room looked rubbish. So I was obviously emitting fear and they were picking up on it. So
I mean, I get
but
that.
I smashed it.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Did we get that?
Yeah.
No, it cut as you said that. Yeah. We've got some questions. Can you get them up on your WhatsApp?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got some questions from our patrons.
Oh, brilliant. I have patrons.
Do you?
I do. When did you start doing
They're
your
not as
Patreon?
nice as our ones.
I've really enjoyed my Patreon.
We've done it since lockdown.
Yeah, I think I was the same. And I've got a really nice little
We've got like a lovely community. Yeah, it's really nice.
I like it a lot.
Do you full name the person?
Are these questions for just general questions?
Yeah, well, about they know you two are on. Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
First name.
Thank you.
First name, Jason.
I don't know why I asked Julian. I don't know.
I've only done 250.
That was Jason, first name.
This is from Derek. Derek says, are there any topics you have covered in the past that you would steer clear of today when you do stand-up? Do you have any bits you cringe about now, or do you take the view of it was of that time?
Good question.
I used to play around with race a little bit when I was new, just like irony. But I think a lot of people did when I was new. It's like
Give me an example.
I won't say the word then.
Right.
Well, I used to have a joke. For example, my girlfriend just got back from Nigeria for 3 weeks, and all I got was this lousy AIDS.
Okay.
You like that one?
Well, I wouldn't do it because we're different with different tones.
Skill?
No, different. We've got different ways to make people laugh.
Or I did a joke like.
So I'm just imagining you out of nowhere pulling that joke out on stage. It wouldn't go well.
That wouldn't go well.
But that wasn't a race joke. Like, like that was a,
I suppose I think it's got constrained. People like Ricky Gervais are adamant that it's a broad remit. You can say what you have whenever you like.
I think that as well.
You do? Okay, well, good for you. Maybe that comes down to fearlessness, but I certainly want to stay within the realms of, as I say,
taste.
being liked.
Yeah.
So if I alienate people, then it's going to be harder for me then to make them laugh, and then really hard when I give in the invoice if it hasn't gone well. So, I do a lot of stuff. I mean, I've been married for 30 years, so I do a lot of stuff with my wife now. Back in the day, that was no problem, but I am finding now people hear me talk about my wife and think, well, this is going to be misogynistic. This is going to be defamatory about women, and I don't think it is at all, because my wife has heard and seen all my stuff, and
she's not allowed to back chat either.
Normally, if she laughs, I think that's going to work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So if she recoiled from something, then I wouldn't do it.
But I suppose you and your wife's relationship, just because she laughs, an audience might still find it misogynistic. Maybe.
Well, I think
not that it is.
I think sensitivities are heightened now.
Yeah.
So to Derek's question, I used to have a signature routine, which is on my radio show. You can find out. You can search out if you want to see it. And it's about how much toilet paper women use.
Yeah,
and it's a really big part of my act when I was winning awards in Edinburgh. It's a big thing about how they use rolls and rolls and rolls. Now I definitely know now if I did that now, there'll be people taking offence. Whereas back then, there was no offence and it was regaling people with laughter. But I think now tastes have changed.
Yeah.
And you're denigrating women because we have periods, therefore we use a lot of toilet paper. And that wasn't my angle at all.
So they use toilet paper for periods?
Well, you know what I mean? Just calling women's toilet habits into
have a shower, honey. You know what I mean?
So that routine wouldn't fly now.
Yeah. There are bits like that I've got, I guess, but I don't know. I kind of like skating on the line though, which means you can cross it though. You know what I mean?
Josh Howie does that really well.
Yeah,
I really like Josh Howie stuff.
He used to do a really joke he couldn't do now. Like it was funny. Though.
He is funny. He's got. Funny.
I don't know. I kind of like that kind of skating. No. I think Louis C.K. does it incredibly.
But again, it's bravery, isn't it? It's like, fuck you, I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
I'll do what I want to do. It's my gigs, my microphone, my stage, my
But
time.
it's more like I want them to appreciate the humour as well. Like it's not like I don't want to offend them.
No.
But I want them to find it funny. But, I want them to find it funny and risky and, And
if you're not funny, then you're not doing your job. And you're not getting any work.
And it's skillful as well going along that line. Like you write a joke that people laugh first and then they judge. You know what I mean? But the laugh catches them off guard.
I agree.
Yeah, it's that thing of though, like rather than you're not someone that sneers and goes, "I'm joking." You're like, "No, I am joking." Like, there's a difference there where you're coming from with the joke. Because I always think, although we're saying you're sort of quite high status, like at the end of the day, a lot of your jokes, even though the topics are quite dark, they're quite daft.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even though they're dark topic matters, it's quite daft the way sort of your jokes end up.
Yeah.
Because you could say, "Oh, you've got a joke about
you're confounding.
driving."
You do confound an
I did do a joke on Russell Howard's Hour that I can't take down because it's not on my account. Right. It's on their YouTube about my daughter, and now she's 18. I kind of went a little bit, if I'm honest.
Oh, is it the joke about her downstairs area?
Yeah. Like not knowing what. I was at the doctor's and I didn't know what to
grow up.
But she hasn't. I don't know if she's ever seen it, but I say her name.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it does make me went a little bit, to be honest. But it was about not knowing what to call it when I took her to the doctor's, right. And I almost said, you know what I mean, a certain word. And I don't know, I just always really liked that bit because it was kind of skating along taste, but actually it was quite charming.
Well, it's daft. Like I say, it's quite daft that you would think of saying...
And it's about me being a young dad, being an idiot.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But, yeah.
But if it went and it flew...
It used to really work.
Derek's question is, it was of its time.
Yes.
And when we are a factor of people's tastes and fashions. And
I don't think the time's any different now for that particular joke than it was then. I don't say it as much now. I still could pull it out though, you know what I mean?
But I understand having it recorded, internet lasts forever.
Indelible.
Yes.
Indelible.
Yeah. It's indelibly online.
Shall I look at another question?
Yes, please. Patreon.com/WeAreTVI. Join.
Colin, is Colin a regular?
Yeah.
Colin asks if
they're all patrons.
Okay. Well, one of his questions was what's your shower routine? But his other one is much more more interesting.
Happy to tell him that.
If you could bankrupt any person, company, country, or organisation, who or what would it be?
Wow. I didn't expect that. I didn't see that question coming.
You did not after the first one. The first one really led you in.
If you could bankrupt any organisation,
a person or company, who would it be? Or country, I think he said. Country. Person, company, country, organisation. Who would it be?
What's the word? Xenophobic. I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't know. That's a hard one. I don't know if I'd like to bankrupt anybody.
Because it leads to a knock-on effect, no? Because surely if you were like,
their jobs would be lost.
Yeah, well, if you like, bankrupt Coke, then Pepsi just gets bigger, and then some other soft drink empire would build in its place.
Yeah, maybe one of my enemies.
Who's your enemy?
I don't know, really. I don't know if I've got any enemies.
Do you think there's someone out there that views you as an enemy that you're not
There's
aware
people out there that
feel threatened by you.
Yeah. A lot of people. Anyone I walk past in the street catches my eyes.
Who would you like to bankrupt? That's a very unlikely question, but because
it's different to kill, isn't it? Because bankrupt means you've just...
Who do you want to kill then, Tom?
Just nasty people. Just bad people. I don't know.
Who is it or not? I don't know. I don't know.
The person responsible for the bike lanes in London.
I mean, bankrupt them. Yeah.
Are you a cyclist?
I am a cyclist.
But you don't like the bike lanes?
Well, I just don't see how you can take any urban roads, make them 2/3 as big, and expect that to be a good play. Because you're increasing congestion, you're increasing pollution, you're increasing time it takes to get anywhere. And it's across London. And I was in New York last week, and it's in New York as well. And I think that's just madness. So those politicians who are doing that,
there must be a way they can make more, like they can sort congestion out.
Well, they've made it worse, and they've made pollution worse.
It's crazy.
So how they got
traffic.
It was after COVID. They did it during COVID. They sort of thought, right, we can do this now. Let's do it now. And we're all so supine. We all just sat there and went, okay. And I just don't understand how we let that happen. They've ruined our city. I think we live in a great city.
We need to take it back.
We live in a great city despite our politicians.
That's why I quite like this building.
This old building.
This old building is great.
I used to come here as an 18-year-old. This was a careers office on the 10th floor where we are, and look along the board for jobs and
obviously
stuff.
Didn't do great for you then.
That's why they gutted the building.
I think that's why I like this building. Yeah.
But this Riverside,
this is a prime piece of real estate. This building is going to be smashed down.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they are planning. They are planning
not be here that
residential.
Long. It's too expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, this would be $500,000
but
flat.
That's what you want. You want, like, do you know when you talk to people and they're like, I pay this much rent in London, and you look at what they've got, and it's like, when I lived in a house share in London, I used to pay a pittance, but it was a shithole.
Right.
But it was, do you know what I mean? But you go, yeah, but
nowadays
you can't even pay shit money for a shithole.
They say in London now, I've got lots of friends who've got kids of an age now trying to rent. They say it's £1,000 a bed.
Yeah.
Pretty much wherever you are in town.
A month, a week.
A month.
Yeah.
£1,000 a month for a bed, and that's a shared house. And so landlords are going, it's £1,000. That's the rate. That's the rate. You know, it's like we have a rate for gigs, which has not changed in 25 years.
Yeah.
It's this much per gig, which always grates on my gears, grinds my gears. But £1,000 for a room.
It's definitely about that, yeah, I'd say. I pay a shitload, man. I rent privately. But I mean, it's a lovely area I live, though. But
where do you live?
In Blackheath Village.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah. But that's it. Like when it's like, I get a nice place to live, so I pay a decent whack. You go, okay, fair enough. But it's not, like I said, there's just no shitholes where you can charge.
No, there are shitholes, but they're £1,000.
Sorry, yeah, there are shitholes, but they're not shit
exactly,
money.
Yes.
I know, it's fucking bad.
It's only a shithole.
They need to build more houses.
Where do you live, Tom?
So I live in Bexley Heath now, but where I did live when I was New Cross.
Okay.
So it was,
It's quite a, like, I don't know, it's probably expensive. It's up and coming.
I drove through there
little bit
the other
rough.
day.
Still down.
There's just the skyline. When I used to live in New Cross, I used to walk to Brockley Station, and I worked in the sorting office just on Brockley High Street as well. So you'd walk down towards the station, you have this nice skyline, and I did it the other day, and they've just built over the skyline, and it's going up. It's up. So you just go, this is just going to turn into like any other corner.
Canary Wharf,
like that. London used to have very specific different places, but now that it's all the same.
Yeah.
You used to go, you're in New Cross now, so it's a bit arty,
It's like every city in England in a way. You've got your TK Maxx, your Costas, your B&Ms, your Primarks.
Homogenous.
Yeah, it's all the same wherever you go.
That's why I quite like. I like gigging in small places where you turn up, you go, right, okay, I've got a couple of hours. What can I do here now?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not a lot. Yeah, because where's your Costa?
Where's
Costa? No Costa. What?
Brothel near me. Google.
So some more questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick fire ones.
Not
existential ones.
No.
Where we've all got to sit and ponder.
This is a nice one. Question for the pod by Ed. Did you have someone who was a champion for you early in your career?
I did. I had Eddie Izzard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so...
what year did you start?
92, 91 maybe.
Wow.
So Pete Harris was working with Eddie.
That's Phil's brother, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And Eddie was really supportive. I went to join them both, went on tour with Eddie. And he said to me, I'm never going to help you, Dominic, because you're good enough.
Wow.
I'm never going to help you, Dominic.
That's one way of not helping you.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I won't let you down.
So I'm going to drop you at the bus stop.
Thanks very much.
That's a really nice way of like letting someone down.
And here's a weird
And then
thing.
he went and he never spoke to me
Last
since.
time I saw him, we were at the Comedy Store and we were chatting just what he's up to. This is maybe 5 years ago. And I remember really bizarre what he said to me. He said, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, Dominic. But, I'm not on Tom's level. And it really shuddered me because when I was working with Eddie, obviously I didn't have Tom.
You should have said to him, well, I don't need to help you. You're good enough.
I should have said that.
Yes.
I should have said that.
I should have got Tom in to say that to him.
But I was really shocked by that because in my head, he was the epitome of a stand-up comedian, full around the world in all the theatres.
It's funny there's levels on that level, and that's in their head as well.
So when he said that to me, it was just extraordinary. I thought, oh my God, my little boy who, I had no
used to change Spider-Man's nappies.
Yeah. And now Eddie is like, I'm not on his level. I thought, Christ, that's amazing. But so Eddie was my champion. Yeah.
What do your other sons do?
They are
Batman.
It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Superman.
It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
No, I don't have any other sons.
Oh, they're dead to me.
What about you though? Any people who championed you?
Yeah, there was a few early on, I guess.
Can you trump Eddie Izzard?
No, just like working comics, I guess, that were
but it wasn't important though. I thought because
they were professional and I was new, so they were like.
Do you know Sean Mio?
Yeah.
So I did a gig at Ealing. Sean was
he about the same time
no,
as you?
No, before me.
Oh, okay.
So Sean was a professional comedian and was doing well.
In 92?
Yeah, it would have been 90. Yeah, it would have been back as 92 because I hadn't been to Edinburgh. I went to Edinburgh in 93. And Sean Mio said this a remarkable thing to me. I did an open spot at Ealing Comedy and it went well. And he said to me, "You're better than I am now." And I was very amazed that he said that to a comic because comics are quite fierce and quite competitive.
Yeah,
and I thought it showed a real, not an intelligence,
Humility.
Humility. It showed real humility because it did go well. Maybe it's my first 20. Maybe it's my first set. It wasn't an open spot. But he
says that to everyone, by the
way. But Sean, I was very struck by how kind that was to say. It was so encouraging for me. But I thought, well, aren't many comics who'd say that to a young comic?
Yeah.
You know.
Noel Faulkner was always really nice to me. He ran. Do you remember the comedy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he had Tourette's and stuff. He was a lovely guy.
Yeah, what a lovely guy. Yeah.
He was very kind.
He was quite scary to some people, wasn't he?
He was always kind to me, but he was a manic guy. He kind of wasn't easy company, was he?
Yeah, like if he lost his temper and stuff. But he was always really good to me, yeah.
At the Comedy Cafe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that gig, actually.
It was, yeah. That's when I started. That's when I did my very first gig on Rivington Street.
Oh, really? Yeah. What, on the new act night?
So Wednesday night, yeah. I remember doing those gigs. It would have been just
Ross Noble at MC at
No,
Kitson.
Ross wasn't there. Ross was way after me. So I predated Ross.
And what about Kitson?
No, predated Daniel. But I remember doing those gigs. I was a sales rep selling whatever products I was doing, and I had a gig that night, and I was 4 hours in prep to do 5 minutes. Yeah. Just getting my shit together, getting
That's
my head
how
together.
It goes, though. I wish I still put that much time in.
Walking miles before the gig, and I'd go on stage and, come on, let's do this. And it was, so...
I remember jogging around the block once because I heard that's good for like your anxiety.
Oh, what, getting you?
And this little pub gig with like 12 people and I'm jogging around and I was so exhausted. Like it totally backfired.
I got a couple of mates who used to live not far, they lived in Kingston. So whenever I did the Grey Horse, I used to say, come, And one of them, I remember one day he said, you used to have a chat with us, and then you'd go away in the corner, you'd sit on your own until you were called on stage.
Yeah. And I do that now.
Yeah, he said, and he said literally, the last time you came and did Grey Horse, you were chatting with us, the tech gave you a nod, you were sort of finishing the conversation as you walked to the stage.
Oh, good for you, Tom.
And I just went, right. He went.
Died
so that,
so bad.
Died so horribly. He said that.
So I'll never do that again.
Yeah. So that's that. I think that's a real sense of arrival then, that you can do that, because I can't do that. I can't even do
now?
Not even now. I have to be on my own before I go on stage.
I can do that now. I remember somebody said that about Tom Stade will be doing a crossword. When I was new, he'd be doing a crossword, thinking of go on stage, do the gig, come off and just straight back into it. And I remember thinking, that's so incredible.
Yeah.
But I can do that now more so.
No, I can't.
But I am conscious that I'm doing it as well. I'm like, oh, look, I'm just having a chat.
If I'm chatting with someone before a gig, I'll stop listening to them.
Yeah.
So they're chatting to me. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I'm thinking of my links and what I'm going to say. I'm listening to the...
I remember that when we did that gig,
Yeah.
One of my very first paid gigs was Portsmouth for Off the Curb.
Easy gig, Portsmouth.
Wedgwood Rooms.
Wedgwood Rooms.
Yeah.
And I had to drive Sean Walsh back. And I remember Sean went to me, oh, by the way, I'll get in touch with Curb and say that you did great. And
he was good, willing to lie.
Nice guy, Sean.
Yeah, he was willing to lie because I wasn't great. I was okay. And it was, I remember just going, oh, that's a really nice thing. And I'll never forget him doing that for me.
Yeah.
And going, oh, and I always, like, the other day, I've got a brand new gig that I've just started in Western Brewery. And there was a guy from Kent who was very new, and I put him on, and he was great. Like, he was doing 10.
She nicked his material.
Took it all. And as he came off, he just went, I just want to say thanks very much for Tom to putting me on. I really appreciate it. And I just went, it generally, nice. Hit me a little bit.
He knows how to network.
Oh, yeah, I've given him loads. So, you know what I mean? But I was just
he played you like a fiddle.
Yeah, no, Scott Fishenden. And I said to him at the night, oh, thanks for saying that. But actually, even thinking about it now makes me go, God, it is a good feeling, sort of helping someone in their first steps. It really does.
Sure. It depends how threatened you feel. I have no... Like you mentioned Michael McIntyre earlier. Michael's not popular on the circuit, is he? Because he's an unusual guy.
I never came across him myself, but yeah.
He's a brilliant comic.
He was just after me, really. He blew just as I started.
Brilliant stand-up comedian, and I don't have any envy for anyone who can do something as well as that.
Yeah.
I look at him and think, if he's doing Wembley Arena every 18 months, and he's got a new set every 18 months, then he's worth every single shekel he's making, and good for him. And where I get...
He's not as big as your son, though.
No, he's not on that level. Well, he's not, is he? That's the mad thing about my family.
That's the beauty of it.
But I think there is a lot of jealousy in comedy, which is why I was so heartened by Sean Meo's kindness.
Yeah.
Because it's quite rare.
Yeah.
That's why it stuck out. And that's why I still remember it all these years
I've always
later.
really liked him as well. He's an interesting guy.
He's an interesting guy.
He's always working on bits as well.
And bobs. He always tells you stuff before, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do Don't tell me, Sean. Just go out and do it. Just go and do it. But there's a lot of jealousy in comedy, and I think jealousy is very caustic, and it's
toxic.
You got to get rid of it.
Acerbic.
You got to get rid of it.
Right. James Redding says, do you have any... James says, do you have any tips for how to get into writing for others? Had done open mic for a while, but now get heckled by two babies. It's a tough room. Also, what was it like seeing Bob Monkhouse's last gig?
Yeah, good old Bob.
Wow.
So now, there's another example. It's a great piece of timing there. Is it James? Was it James?
James, yes.
James, yeah.
See, Bob was a guy who, in terms of heralding, so people sometimes say to me, because I've not been on TV for 20 years. It's been 20 years since I did stand-up on TV. But I still get recognised. Unusual face.
No, I think people know Dominic.
People do know
Holland,
who I am, yeah. So, and I'm always very gratified when they do. But people will come up to me and say, I really loved you on the Parkinson show. And I just go along with it because I never did the Parkinson show.
Oh, yeah.
I just
thank
go
you,
along
man.
with it. Rather than say, no, that wasn't me.
I was really nervous before that.
It wasn't me. I just go, thank you very much indeed. However, Monkhouse mentioned me on the Parkinson show. So Monkhouse said the comic to look out for is Dominic Holland, and he said he's the funniest non-famous comedian in Britain for now. So I used to make a joke about that.
Yeah.
For now. That for now has been taking a long time. But Bob was a remarkable bloke because Bob watched me on TV with Harry Hill doing some stand-up and a really late night show, 1:30 in the morning on Central TV. And he recorded it and watched me and said to his producers, get that kid in to write for me.
Oh, wow.
He invited me in, and I was really quite starstruck to meet the guy, and he knew every line I'd ever done, and he dissected it, and he was an incredible supporter of mine.
That's great.
And so when he was dying, he was doing a show. This is typical Bob. I want to do a gig for comedians. I hate doing gigs for comedians.
Oh, my God.
I hate it when comics are there. If I'm doing the Comedy Store and someone rocks up, they don't come down and rock up when I'm on. Go away. Because I might have a smelly gig.
Walk around the
block.
block.
Bob invited all these comics in and said, I want Dominic to host it. So I was so flattered. And he was very...
And that was his last ever gig?
Well, whether it was his last gig, certainly it was his last gig that was televised. Mike Yarwood came along. So he interviewed Mike. Mike's dead now, of course, as well. But yeah, pretty much. And he looked incredibly unwell. He was all bloated and his steroids were really... He just looked rough.
Bob did?
Bob looked terrible, yeah. But it was Kevin Day was there and David Walliams
He wrote
was there.
for Bob Hope as well,
yes,
didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Do you remember when he had his big joke book stolen?
And also, what would Bob do is when I'd been in meetings with Bob all day, he was a brilliant drawer.
His joke book looked all really
animated,
creative,
unbelievable. Yeah. So he'd be writing these things down, and you don't know what he's doing. And at the end of the day, you might look at his book, and there'd be pictures of me, pictures of you, and his likeness was
naked
incredible.
One.
Yeah.
We'll overlook that.
Stonking erection. But he was a fantastic guy. We'll edit that. You can't speak ill of the dead.
Yeah, come on, not Monkhouse, for God's sake.
Monkhouse, yeah, he was a brilliant animator. Talented man. And he was a guy not threatened by young comics. Which was my point. Whereas Bruce Forsyth, on the other hand, he was
a killer,
he didn't herald anyone.
Yeah.
Bruce was like pulling the drawbridge
threatened,
up. Whereas Bob was like putting the ladder down. Say, this kid's really good, come up.
Yeah,
My friend worked on Strictly Come Dancing, and obviously they were setting the cameras up, so he sat in one of the judges' chair, and they were like, we'll come to you for comments. And he just went, I'll be honest, it's going to be raining 10, like that. A producer came over and went, don't do jokes.
Who, Forsyth came over and said that?
No, a producer came over and went, don't do jokes. Bruce is in the room.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Bruce. I had a few encounters with Bruce, and he was not, he didn't have Bob's warmth, and he felt threatened by younger people because he wanted to be the star forever. Whereas Monkhouse was the opposite.
I mean, he done well, didn't he? To be in the star forever, really. Like it was
he held on to it, didn't he? Clutched it with,
Monkhouse. There's a brilliant story about Monkhouse. Lee Hurst was involved with early days writing with Bob, and Lee was a real comedy policeman as well as being a good stand-up. Lee was a very comedy policeman, And Bob did a joke, and he said, I was with my dad the other day, not my real dad, my stepladder, the stepladder guy.
Oh yeah.
Not my real ladder, my stepladder.
Yeah.
And he did that line in this meeting, and Lee, very confrontational, immediately said, "You can't do that. That's Harry Hill's joke." Harry Hill's joke, and I wasn't in the meeting, but it got quite febrile, and Bob sort of backed down, said fine, and then in a month's time they had another meeting, and Bob brought in this cassette, put it on, and it was like 1956 Live at the Apollo equivalent, and it was Bob doing that joke before Harry Hill was born.
I heard that story actually.
Yeah, awkward.
I heard that he posted him the cassette though, but maybe
I heard Maybe
I
it's
I heard it wrong.
I know the line was the stepladder line, not my real ladder, my stepladder.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did it
Bob
on telly.
said, okay, no problem.
Yeah, and Bob was like, yeah, okay, but he'd done it on telly, yeah. So there are no new jokes, in a way. In a way. I mean, I'm not saying Harry nicked it off Bob, because Harry wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But Harry had the same idea.
I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah. That's what I'm gathering from that.
Go on.
Right.
One more question,
One
then
more
we'll
question.
round it up. Oh, we didn't talk about your book.
Don't worry.
No, let's talk
It's
about the book,
shit.
because, let's talk about the book.
I brought it along. The reason why I brought it along is because I give all the money to blood cancer.
Oh, wow.
So I wrote this book about 10 years ago. It's called Open Links, and it's a brilliant book. If you like my stand-up, I'll say it myself. I'm not an arrogant man at all, but it is a really good read. It's very compelling.
You want to stop blood cancer? That's just
Well, no,
you don't want to fund it. No.
No, I want to stop it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I want to expand the
against-
register. So I used to do gigs for Anthony Nolan back in the day, and Anthony Nolan are a great charity. They curate the biggest bone marrow register in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I did a gig the other day down for Neil Masters. Where's that gig? Down in Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, nice gig. I'm doing this new gig at the moment called Takes on Life. So it's more of a sort of, I've written these comic essays that I've published, and I sort of use them as stand-up. So it's more of a sort of sitting down gig. But it goes really well. I'm really enjoying doing it. And a lady came up to me at the gig, and she was a bit nervous to meet me. I was signing books. And she said, "Look, Dominic, hello. I came because of Open Links, because I'd heard about Open Links." And she had a bone marrow transplant from Nolan 5 years ago, and she got 2 kids. So it was a really lovely moment between her and I, because she wouldn't be here without Anthony Nolan. So all the money from Open Links I give to Nolan, and it is only used to expand their register. So the more people on their register, the more matches they can make.
Sure.
And I republished it this year because it was voted the best golf novel ever published.
Oh, wow.
Should we show the camera?
So it was a nice accolade, and I thought, well, with that accolade, I thought I'll try and republish it. So you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah. What's the plot?
The premise is it's a because the Open Golf Championship is open to any player who qualifies.
Yes.
So you can't play for United unless you're in the United squad.
Of course.
Whereas in golf, if you're a pro golfer, you can qualify for the Open. So in any Open, there will be some journeyman players who've gone through qualifying at Sunningdale or Walton Heath or wherever. So I find that quite intoxicating. So with McIlroy, you'll have Joe Blow, who you've never heard of. And Joe Blow can be on the leaderboard, with these vaunted players we've all heard of. So basically, it's a journeyman playing Muirfield in Scotland, and it's 18 chapters, it's 18 holes, and it takes you through his round and how his round affects everyone around him. And it becomes very magical. And it's very compelling. You don't know anything about golf, but it's comic. It's really comic.
It does sound shit, but
It's not too far from comedy, really, because you could just be on a comedy bill with a superstar, and you're 5 gigs in.
And you don't do that in music, do you? You wouldn't do your first gig with Adele.
And what I loved is the kid called Dan Brown, who was in the Open this year and finished 10th.
Right.
So there are people
He was that guy.
have...
He was that guy. He was my Ricky Randall. My character's called Ricky Randall. And Dan, who I watched at Wentworth the other day, he went through qualifying, and he was like 4th playing on the Sunday, and he came 10th in the end. So still got a big check.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he got some spotlight on him. I thought, that's the guy, and that's why I think golf is
How old's Ricky Randall in the book?
38, 40.
I was going to say, because if he was 28, I know a guy who could play him. Have you ever thought about making it?
It would be a great movie.
It would be great. It sounds
if
like a great
If I knew anyone in film, Tom, how would I... But no, all of my books, I've written 6 novels, and I think they all make great movies. But, I've sold a few to Hollywood, but... it's these things like House of Cards to get them set up.
It must be cool. Your son's like you own your son, don't you?
I tell you what, he calls me every day.
Does he?
At a certain time. If he doesn't, he's in trouble. No, I did. Listen. What happened to Tom is so peculiar. In fact, I felt bad, Tom, when you walked in the room just today, because we did a gig last year, didn't we?
Yes.
And I remember, and it's actually in my phone, in my notes, to send you, for your daughter, a photograph of Tom. And it's always in my head thinking, I must do that and surprise you, because you probably thought it'll never arrive, but it's definitely going to arrive. So I'm sorry I haven't done that.
My daughter's obsessed with him, by the way. She's 18. Could you get him to send her a message? No. Does everyone ask that?
Yeah, you know what? Everyone asks that, and it is quite tiring, but I try where I can to help.
By 9 a.m. tomorrow.
But he's away, he's in Boston then, but I will, Tom. I will do that.
Thank you so much. No, it's...
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, guys. That was fun. That was really nice.
Thank you, Julian.
Yeah, and you can get open links from Amazon.
Open links, Dominic Holland book.
Yeah, and if you come to it, then thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, and with that, thank you, everyone, for listening. We love you all. Thanks to our patrons, and good night. Get
well, Carl's little lad.
Carl's little daughter. Yeah, she's improving, and it's all moving in the right direction.
Good.